Dear cadets in class 7 of Borshal Cadet College, Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope you are fine by the grace of Allah. Dear cadets, I, Muhammad Idi-Amin bin Hashim, your science teacher in Borshal Cadet College. Today, I will take your science class. I welcome to my class. Cadets, you know, this is the time of corona pandemic. For this reason, you must be follow some instructions. At first, wash your hands often with soap and water. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Cover with cloth or season with a tissue. Then throw the tissue in the trash. Stay home when you are sick. Finally, clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Okay, boys, let's start our class. Today's subject, Science, Chapter 4. Boys, look at the slide. Our learning topic, respiration. Dear boys, after studying this lesson, you will be able to know, explain the energy producing process, describe functions and main parts of respiratory system of animals, describe cause and symptoms of disease of respiratory system. Cadets, you will be able to know, explain the prevention methods of and remedy of disease of respiratory systems. Okay, boys, you also able to know, draw figures of main parts of respiratory systems and compare the process of photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, boys, look at the figure. This is our topics, photosynthesis and respiration. Boys, what is respiration? The process by which organisms exchange gases, especially oxygen and carbon dioxide, with the environment. In air breathing, vertebrates, respiration takes place in the lungs. In fish and many vertebrates, respiration takes place through the gills. Respiration in green plants occurs during photosynthesis. Okay, boys. Our next slide, respiratory process. The respiratory systems in the network of organs and tissues that help you breathe. It includes your airways, lungs, and blood vessels. The muscles that power your lungs are also part of the respiratory systems. These parts work together to move oxygen throughout the body and clean out waste gases like carbon dioxide. Boys, we know respiration is divided into two types: external respiration and internal respiration. Boys, look at the figure. This is human respiratory systems: nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and lungs are present here. Okay, boys, our next topic: external respiration. Boys, we know external respiration is the normal term of gas exchange. It describes both the bulk flow of air in and out of the lungs and the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide into the blood stream through diffusion. External respiration is completed into two steps, such as exhalation and inhalation. Okay, boys, now we discuss inhalation. The process of breathing in is called inhalation. Boys, look at the picture. In inhalation period, the diaphragm contracts, the chest expands, and the airflow is in. Our next process, exhalation. Boys, this is exhalation process in human bodies. The process of breathing out is called exhalation. Breathing is a vital function of life. The lungs add to oxygen to the blood and remove carbon dioxide in a process called gas exchange. Boys, look at the figure. This process, the diaphragm is relaxed, the chest contract, so airflow out. Okay, boys. Now we discuss internal respiration. Boys, look at the picture. It is the process by which the gas in the air that has already been drawn into the lungs by external respiration are sent with gases in blood and tissues. So the carbon dioxide is removed from the blood and replaced with oxygen. Okay, boys. Now we discuss respiration in living world. Boys, we know respiration is an intracellular metabolic process. This system is the network of organs and tissues that help you breathe. It includes your airways, lungs, and blood vessels. The muscles that power your lungs are also part of the respiratory systems. These parts work together to move oxygen throughout the body and clean out the carbon dioxide. Okay, boys. Now we see a slideshow of respiration in animals.
Breathing in other animals. Animals like cows, dogs, frogs, monkeys, snakes, crocodiles, birds, respire through lungs as human beings. But there are some organisms which do not have lungs. Instead, they have special type of respiratory organs. Breathing underwater. Fish. Can you breathe inside the water? No, even the water gets inside your lungs. But how do organisms living in water can survive? How can they breathe underwater? Organisms like fish living in water possess special structures called gills, which aid in breathing. Gills are the projections of the skin which have rich supply of blood. Oxygen from water diffuses into capillaries present in the gills to provide oxygen to the body cells. Carbon dioxide in turn diffuses out of the blood, thereby causing exchange of gases. Cockroach. Cockroaches are winged insects which live in the cracks and crevices of the houses. On either side of the body, cockroaches have small openings called as spiracles, which lead into a network of air tubes called as tracheae, which help in gaseous exchange. Tracheae, the air tubes, are modified and specially found in insects. Oxygen-rich air enters through spiracles into tracheal tubes and diffuses into the body cells. Carbon dioxide from the cells enters tracheal tubes to be expelled out through spiracles. Earthworm. Earthworms are slimy crawling annelids which live in the soil. Skin of earthworm is slimy and moist. Gases get exchanged through this slimy skin. Frogs, though possess a pair of lungs, can also breathe through their moist skin.
Okay, boys. Thank you very much. Our next topic, human respiratory systems. Boys, we know the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, diaphragm all work like a system of pipes through which the air is funneled down into our lungs. Boys, look at the picture. This is human respiratory systems. Boys, at first we discuss nasal cavity. Boys, inside the nose, the strictly mucous membranes lining the nasal cavity traps dust particles and tiny hairs called cilia help move them to the nose into the system or blown out. Then pharynx. Boys, both food and air pass through the pharynx before reaching their appropriate destination. Our next respiratory organ, larynx. Boys, we know the larynx is essential to human speech. Then trachea. Look at just below the larynx. The trachea is the main airways of lungs. boys. Then bronchi. The bronchi branch from the trachea into each lungs, created the network of intricate passes the supply of lungs with air. Then lungs. Boys, we know together the lungs from of the body's is largest organ. They are responsible for providing oxygen to capillaries and exhaling carbon dioxide. Boys, our last respiratory organ, diaphragm. Diaphragm is the main respiratory muscles that contract and relax to allow air into the lungs. Okay, boys. Now we see a slideshow to prove of energy producing in respiration.
Here, let us perform an activity on how the heat is produced in germinating seeds during the process of respiration. Click each tab to know more. Take the germinated seeds, which are prepared for the activity of evolution of carbon dioxide in respiration. Place the germinating seeds in a thermoflask. Remove the lid of thermoflask and prepare a cork with the help of thermocol or rubber or any other material provided. The cork must have a hole at the center in order to insert a thermometer. Now, close the flask with this tight-fitting cork and insert the thermometer through its hole. Take care that bulb of the thermometer must dip into the germinating seeds. Seal the hole present in the middle of the cork with either grease or Vaseline after inserting the thermometer through it. Record the temperature once for every 2 hours and continue this process for a total duration of 24 hours. Observe and note down the readings of temperature. It is observed that the temperature in the thermoflask increases. Draw a graph based on these values. Graph shows that the temperature is increasing steadily. Thus, from this experiment, it is understood that the heat gets generated during the process of respiration.
Okay, boys. Thank you very much. Our next slide, common diseases of respiratory tracts. Boys, we know respiratory disease ranks from mild and self-limiting, such as a common cold, influenza, and pharyngitis of life-threatening disease, such as bacterial pneumonia, pulmonary embolism, tuberculosis, acute asthma, lung cancer, and severe acute respiratory syndromes are contained. Portion of this disease could be prevented if cause, symptoms, remedy, and preventive measures of this disease are known. Okay, boys. Now discuss tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is a well-known infectious disease. One type of bacteria is responsible for this disease. The symptoms of the disease, the body is gradually lost and the patient became weak. Occasional cough with bleeding, fever in the evening and sweat at night, pain in the chest, back, occasionally stomach disorder. Remedy. The patient should be given nutritious food and advice of a physician treatments. Then prevention. Take BCG vaccine should be kept separately and ensures proper treatment. Mouth should be covered with hand scarves and children should not be allowed to go to tuberculosis patient. Okay, boys. Now we discuss pneumonia. It is a viral disease of children. Severe cold attack the responsible for this disease. One type of bacteria is responsible for this disease. The pneumonia symptoms is occasional cough and breathing, high fever with feelings of contract, pain in the chest. Remedy. The patient should be given nutritious food and advice of a physician treatments, more water and liquid foods, and proper medicine should be given. Prevention. When the children are attacked the males of bronchitis, more care should be taken. Okay, boys. Now we discuss bronchitis. Tracheal infection is called bronchitis. One type of virus is responsible for this disease. The bronchitis symptoms, cough with respiratory trouble, often cough comes out. The patient suffered from fever and gradually becomes weak. Remedy. Stopping smoking, threats according to treatments according to doctor's advice. Okay, boys. Now we discuss asthma. Asthma is not an infection or contagious disease. This cause of the disease may be some food, dust in the air, or pollen gains when inhaled. In children, cold and cough is the main cause of this disease. Exception in certain seasons or at the time of season change, abundance of the disease is marked. Asthma's symptoms. Suddenly, breathing trouble shows up. Sometimes breathing is about to stop during inhalation skill. In between, reef is pushed in. Remedy. Well ventilated and well-lighted house is used. Follow doctor advice and avoid dust and smoke. Taking proper medicine. Okay, boys, look at the picture. If you have any question regarding my subject, please ask to the following box. I will try to solve it. Boys, look at the slide. This is sample question. We follow this type of question for your exam, so try to solve it. Okay, boys, our next slide, homework. Cadets, you can see a steam in slide. Now follow the following figure and answer the following question. Boys, our next slide, next class, digestive system. Boys, we know in present this is the time of corona pandemic. Now we see a slideshow of corona awareness. We should follow the following message in the slide.
This is SARS-CoV-2. It belongs to the family of coronaviruses named for the crown-like spikes on their surfaces. SARS-CoV-2 can cause COVID-19, a contagious viral infection that attacks primarily your throat and lungs. What actually happens in your body when you contract the coronavirus? What exactly causes your body to develop pneumonia? And how would a vaccine work? The coronavirus must infect living cells in order to reproduce. Let's have a closer look. Inside the virus, genetic material contains the information to make more copies of itself. A protein shell provides a hard protective enclosure for the genetic material as the virus travels between the people it infects. An outer envelope allows the virus to infect cells by merging with the cell's outer membrane. Projecting from the envelope are spikes of protein molecules. Both a typical influenza virus and the new coronavirus use their spikes like a key to get inside a cell in your body, where it takes over the cell's internal machinery, repurposing it to build the components of new viruses. When an infected person talks, coughs, or sneezes, droplets carrying the virus may land in your mouth or nose and then move into your lungs. Once inside your body, the virus comes in contact with cells in your throat, nose, or lungs. One spike on the virus inserts into a receptor molecule on your healthy cell membrane like a key in a lock. This action allows the virus to get inside your cell. A typical flu virus would travel inside a sac made from your cell membrane to your cell's nucleus that houses all its genetic material. The coronavirus, on the other hand, doesn't need to enter the host cell nucleus. It can directly access parts of the host cell called ribosomes. Ribosomes use genetic information from the virus to make viral proteins, such as the spikes on the virus's surface. A packaging structure in your cell then carries the spikes in vesicles which merge with your cell's outer layer, the cell membrane. All the parts needed to create a new virus gather just beneath your cell's membrane. Then, a new virus begins to bud off from the cell's membrane. Now, with the virus spreading in your body, how can you develop pneumonia symptoms? For this, we'll have to look into your lungs. Each lung has separate sections called lobes. Normally, as you breathe, air moves freely through your trachea or windpipe, then through large tubes called bronchi, through smaller tubes called bronchioles, and finally into tiny sacs called alveoli. Your airways and alveoli are flexible and springy. When you breathe in, each air sac inflates like a small balloon. And when you exhale, the sacs deflate. Small blood vessels called capillaries surround your alveoli. Oxygen from the air you breathe passes into your capillaries, and then carbon dioxide from your body passes out of your capillaries into your alveoli so that your lungs can get rid of it when you exhale. Your airways catch most germs in the mucus that lines your trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. In a healthy body, hair-like cilia lining the tubes constantly push the mucus and germs out of your airways, where you might expel them by coughing. Normally, cells of your immune system attack viruses and germs that make it past your mucus and cilia and enter your alveoli. However, if your immune system is weakened, like in the case of a coronavirus infection, the virus can overwhelm your immune cells, and your bronchioles and alveoli become inflamed as your immune system attacks the multiplying viruses. The inflammation can cause your alveoli to fill with fluid, making it difficult for your body to get the oxygen it needs. You could develop lobar pneumonia, where one lobe of your lungs is affected, or you could have bronchopneumonia that affects many areas of both lungs. Pneumonia may cause difficulty breathing, chest pain, coughing, fever and chills, confusion, headache, muscle pain, and fatigue. It can also lead to more serious complications. Respiratory failure occurs when your breathing becomes so difficult that you need a machine called a ventilator to help you breathe. These are the machines that save lives and that medical device companies currently ramp up production for. Whether you would develop these symptoms depends on a lot of factors, such as your age and whether you already have an existing condition. While this all sounds scary, the push to develop a coronavirus vaccine is moving at high speed. Studies of other coronaviruses led most researchers to assume that people who have recovered from a SARS-CoV-2 infection could be protected from reinfection for a period of time. But that assumption needs to be backed by empirical evidence, and some studies suggest otherwise. There are several different approaches for a potential vaccine against the coronavirus. The basic idea is that you would get a shot that contains faint versions of the virus. The vaccine would expose your body to a version of the virus that is too weak to cause infection, but just strong enough to stimulate an immune response. Within a few weeks, cells in your immune system would make markers called antibodies, which would be specific for only the coronavirus, or specifically its spike protein. Antibodies then attach to the virus and prevent it from attaching to your cells. Your immune system then responds to signals from the antibodies by consuming and destroying the clumps of viruses. If you then catch the real virus at a later stage, your body would recognize it and destroy it. In other words, your immune system is now primed. Collecting evidence on whether this will be possible, safe, and effective is part of what's taking researchers so long to develop a vaccine. It's a race against time to develop a vaccine amid a pandemic. Each step in vaccine development usually takes months, if not years. An Ebola vaccine broke records by being ready in 5 years. The hope here is to develop one for the new coronavirus in a record-breaking 12 to 18 months. While all of this will take time, stay home if you can to protect the most vulnerable. And don't forget to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds and as often as possible. This video was a collaboration between Nucleus Medical Media and the What If channel, where we usually dive into hypothetical scenarios about the human body.
Okay, boys. Thank you. See you next class.